Important conversations about place names and a re-examination of mascots and logos is happening nationwide right now, and Minnesota is no exception. The Murray County Central School District is being asked to re-examine their Rebel mascot.
My name is Brett Gall. I'm a 1995 graduate of Murray County Central High School, and I currently work as a teacher.
And I'm Matt Onken. I am a 1993 graduate of Murray County Central High School.
So I'm asking the school board to reconsider the name and the mascot because I think although when they were adopted, they were not seen as offensive symbols and an offensive name, over time it's become clear that the Rebels name and the Hey Reb mascot are offensive to many people because of their association with the Confederacy in the United States and, being connected with racism and white supremacy, and particularly the Rebel pride. I mean, it's great to be proud of your school, and they've got a lot to be proud of, but that phrase, Rebel pride, is loaded.
I actually had worn my old football jersey, and it said Rebels on it. Didn't have the mascot, just the name Rebels. And a friend of mine, he looked at it, and he's like, Rebels, huh? And in that way of that's not something that's cool. And he was an African-American man. And I hadn't really thought about it before. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe this isn't so cool. We probably should not have this mascot anymore.
It's a question of education where, he and I, when we were wearing those Rebel uniforms in the 90s, I didn't look at it as offensive, but that's because I didn't know better.
My name is Dan Walt. I'm the chairman on the school board at Murray County Central. The June school board meeting, it was brought to our attention again as far as the cultural sensitivity that's associated with Rudy the Rebel, the school mascot, and as well the Rebel name that was given to the school district. It was voted on by the students actually early 90s when the school districts combined. The original mascot had a musket and it had a flag that said Rebels on that hung down with just the REBELS hanging down from it. And it's like, it was, in my opinion, my personal opinion, it was no doubt a Confederate soldier. So combining that with the name Rebel, it kind of fits the bill.
As a kid, as a student there, and I was in the first graduating class for Murray County Central, you don't, as Brett said, you don't think about those things like, oh, Rebel mascot, okay, great, yep, Rebel pride, that fits, and we can do that.
People around here don't see him as a Confederate soldier or any likened to the negative connotations, but they see him as the school spirit, the embodiment of that.
To make a community-based decision, Dan Wold said that the school board is planning to send out student, stakeholder, and general public surveys. The school board is also bringing in a PR firm to evaluate their branded imagery and perform a market analysis gauging the financial impact of a mascot change.
Many of the emails that we've gotten said that, well, finances shouldn't be taken into the consideration if the right thing is the right thing. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills. So financing should be kept into the equation when you're trying to figure this out.
Do you think there's any cost to not making those changes?
Yes, if it's looked at as being something that deters people from visiting the community, coming to the community, enrolling their kids in the school district, absolutely. That has to be weighed into it.
Times are tight here with COVID-19. And one figure that I've heard, I don't know if this has been verified, but that people on Facebook have said is, this would cost $100,000, right? And yes, I think there's some animosity that it's people like me, people like Matt, who don't live in the school district and who are bringing this up. That said, there are plenty of people in the school district who also agree with us, right? And this is where I think Matt had a good strategy here, where he, in his letter this time, committed, or in 2020, committed to $1,000 he would commit. And so I also committed to, I'd be willing to, give $1,000 donation to the school to help make this change. So definitely the funding is one side of this. However, I've also talked to a former school board member who said that you could phase this in over time. Nobody's asking that this be changed immediately overnight. It would be unreasonable to expect that. And so you've got the funding side of it, and then you also have this education side. One of the things that sort of concerns me about the school district's plan to have a survey, which is probably good, but if there's no education side of that about why people perceive these images as racist or white supremacist or inappropriate, then I don't think it will be very helpful.
My name is Dr. Caleb Smith. I'm an instructor at Jones College in Ellisville, Mississippi.
Since 2008, Dr. Caleb Smith has been studying rebel mascots in secondary schools and published his dissertation on the subject in 2019. He explained that of the different versions of rebel mascots, Confederate, Western, Revolutionary, and other, most Minnesotan rebel mascots fall under the Western iteration.
In 1982, University of Nevada, Las Vegas adopted their version of that HAREB, and a lot of schools have since adopted a facsimile of that HAREB, and Rudy is one of those examples. And he is a little more pioneering. A pathfinder is the word that UNLV likes to use to describe him.
If you go back and do some history on the UNLV mascot, they're like, no, our rebel he's one that was ready to go tackle the West. That's what he is. And it's like, yeah, but he still looks like a caricature of Robert E. Lee, that with a big long mustache.
He has a big long mustache. It's over exaggerated, his mustache. It's a lot bigger than Colonel Reb's mustache. He also has a lot of fringe on his outfit. So he looks more outdoorsy, more Western, less of a plantation owner or slave owner. And he has a gun that's used for hunting game or whatever. And so he appears more Western and less Confederate in nature. And what I've found is that places like Murray and other schools in the Midwest, initially their definition of rebel is one that is more affiliated with history of either one of two things. In the 1930s, the early 1930s, there were a lot of riots of farmers who rebelled against agricultural prices that fell because of the Great Depression. So they rebelled against the banks who were foreclosing on them, and they started these small, sometimes communist-led groups that would go and protest foreclosures. But the other connection is a lot less historical.
The rebel name was chosen because the UNLV basketball team was popular that year, so all these kids got to vote, and they voted for the Rebels, and it had no mascot for a while. And this is according to the principal at the time, and he had sent a letter in support of removing the Rebel mascot.
There were about 25 people, including the former principal who oversaw the consolidation of Slayton and Chandler and Lake Wilson, who wrote letters. And that principal says that looking back, we made a mistake. It was a mistake to have the Rebels name. It was a mistake to have this mascot.
He shared in his letter that he put out a ask for merchandise when they joined the three schools, and they are now the Rebels, but they had no merchandise, no clothing, no nothing like that. So he sent it out, and he got some samples back, and it had the Rebels, but then the provider of the samples are the ones that put this Confederate soldier mascot on there. And so it wasn't chosen by the students, it wasn't chosen by the staff. That's just how it been. He said he went with it. He should have said something at the time, but didn't.
In the American vernacular, the American language that we use today, rebel, though, is most closely associated with the Confederacy.
One thing I've tried to do is educate people by saying, just go to Google Images. Do a Google Images search of Rebel Pride and see what shows up. And it's not the kind of things you want associated with your school district, particularly if you're always talking about being respectful and being responsible.
So the issue has come now that rebel has taken on more than just a term as someone who rebels here in the United States.
And it takes time. It takes time for a lot of things for things to change. And that's one thing, people don't want to be shamed. And that's not the goal here. The goal is it's okay to admit that, hey, we did something that maybe wasn't real kosher. And now we're going to make that change, and we're going to support what we want to be for everybody, what we want to be for our students, what we want to be for the people that represent this community. It's okay. It's okay to admit that. And so I've gotten here. It's taken me a lot of years, but I've gotten here, and I think everybody else can too if they're willing to do the education.
And I think if the Maury County Central School District were more diverse, they would have an easier time seeing how people view these images in the name as offensive. And so it's not that they're bad people. And we're not calling anybody racist or white supremacist. It's just a case of where their consciousness about this really hasn't been raised. And that's what we're trying to do in a gentle, loving way here for the good of students and for the good of the school district.
Anytime you can bring awareness and understanding to something is a good thing. Is it a little stressful for some? I think it is, but for me, I'm excited about having the conversation and getting other viewpoints and stuff. I know, like I said earlier, the way that I see things is going to be different than other people. I think the fact that we are in a rural community and we are predominantly Caucasian community, there's not a lot of diversity, and perhaps people in general don't see things the same way as outside community, but that is going to be important to put into the matrix when we look at determining what to do.